Yes, what I would like to speak on today is the time period that we're in at this point. Because we're truly in an exciting time period. A time period when all that has been given to the Gentiles to do, it's coming to an end. Because of course, you know, certain things were given to the Gentiles and Yahweh gave this to the Gentiles. So that the Gentiles would actually have authority over his people, but only for a certain time. Of course, this is only in the physical world because they couldn't have authority over Yahweh's people still in the spiritual and mental area. It could only be over the circumstances that's in the earth. And they would do this by creating rules, laws, and regulations in order to oppress and depress and wear out Yahweh's people. Well, this time is coming to an end because all this was done so that the children of Yahweh could be born, could be manifested, that whatever was needed to be done within them after the fall would be done. And so a certain time period was given for this to take place. And of course, now we're at the time when this is coming to an end. As a matter of fact, guys, it has already come to an end. It has come to an end. All we're going through right now are the symptoms of those who have lost their offices in the heavens and in the earth, because they have actually lost their offices. They may not have come out yet, because see, the devil knows that the devil has a short time. That's why it's cast down into our affairs to do certain things, because it knows it has a short time to continue whatever it's doing. Now, with this short time that the adversary has, these are the things that takes place, because of course what you have a great tribulation that will come upon the earth. The reason why this great tribulation is coming upon the earth is because their time has ended. And the time for the children to be manifested, it is here. And all this, what you're going to find that the earth is going to go through is this great birth pain that we're going to be dealing with right now. Well, we come to a time period where we find ourselves at is the last part of the feast circuit of Yahweh. And in the last part of the feast circuit in the seventh moon, which is, you know, the feast circuit of Yahweh is from the first to the seventh moon. And there is a story that is being told in every feast. There's a story. If we understand the sacrifices that are there, and you know, the things that need to be brought, whether the oil, whether the grain, the wine, the drink offering, all those things, if we see those things and understand those things, we see what is being played out, because there is a message that Yahweh is talking about here. And the body of Messiah is the body that is casting, because all this is a shadow. All Moshe really showed there were patterns. But the body belongs to Messiah, or it's the body of Messiah. And this shadow is being cast by this body, because everything is for this body to actually understand, see, and for this body to get ready with. Now, of course, Yahshua came and Yahshua showed you what the majority of all this stuff is about. And he tells you, if you live as he lived, you're going to make all those sacrifices and you're going to do those things that you need to do in that story, in getting to that time period, or getting prepared for that seventh moon, the completion of the plan, which comes in the seventh moon. Now, at the beginning of the seventh moon, we have a couple of feasts that's there. If we look in Leviticus 23, this is actually what we call the feast chapter. And This feast chapter, it gives you all the feasts of Yahweh, all of them. And if you look at chapter 23 and verse 2, it tells you, speak to the children of Israel and say to them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. These are my feasts. And he goes on, he starts telling you. Well, he tells you that the weekly Sabbath is his feast. That's his feast. Now, again, these are all patterns of something that is greater than what Moshe is showing here. We have to understand this. When you keep the regular Sabbath day and you rest from the things that you would do, and when you come before your Father, you reflect upon the things of Yahweh, because you're not going to do your own work. The things that's going to benefit you and make you feel all great, you're not necessarily going to get into those things. But the things that benefits Yahweh and is going to help humanity, those are all things that are okay to do on the Sabbath, because those are all things that are well. Now, the Sabbath day is telling you about a time when you come into Yahweh's rest, not just as a weekly seventh day Sabbath, but when you come to the awareness that the things that you are going to be doing is totally engrossed in what your Father wants you to do. You're not even going to worry about yourself. Everything that you do, you're going to be looking out for the fellow man. You're going to be looking to do things that will lift up humanity, that they will see the light and they will walk in that path and go to their Father. Now, you're not going to force anyone to do that, because you can't force anybody into the kingdom. You can only show it to them. If they take it, great. If they don't, they don't. That's not our duty to lasso them and drag them. That's not our duty. Our duty is to let our light shine, so that everyone in the earth house, if they could look at you, will see it. But those who you come into contact with day to day, they will see your light, and you will be an example to them in the manner that your Father wants someone to see you and learn of your example. Now, in Leviticus 23 here, if we go down to verse 24, so we're seeing these are Yahweh's feasts. We go down to verse 24. And in verse 24 it says, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th moon, on the 1st day of the moon, you shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing the trumpets, the Feast of Trumpets, a holy convocation. Now he says, you shall do no regular work on it, but you shall offer an offer made by fire to Yahweh. Notice what it says. You shall do no regular work on it. You shall do no regular work on it. But the work for your Father is the work for your Father. That's the work that you're going to do, whether it's going to be inside of the individual, whether it's going to be outside of the individual, whether it's going to be the individual dealing with somebody else that may need to be dealt with during that time. You're going to extend yourself to do for your Father. And this is something that should be pleasant. Now, there may be trials and tests there, because trust me, when Yahweh says here an offering made by fire, he's not just talking about something that's going to go smooth and well. Not always. We may not know the gist of it, but usually fire is something that is trying. And something that is trying, a lot of times, that is put before you for the spirit and truth. Because fire is also spirit and truth. It's also trials. Now, let's go over to one more scripture. Talking about the Feast of Trumpets. And we're going to go to Numbers 29. Numbers 29. And we're going to look at the first chapter. The first verse. Now it says, on the first day of the 7th moon, you shall have a holy convocation. Now this is a gathering. The same. That's all it really is. It's a gathering. Okay? You shall do no regular, customary work. It is a day for you to sound the trumpet. Now the trumpet, guys, is a message. It's a message that you and I should give. The only problem is we can't give that message unless that message is given to us. So this message is first to the Malak of Yahweh, or the Malachim. That's why in Revelation it says, and this Malak sounded. It is being sounded. However, the children of Yahweh hears the sound because they hear the message. Everyone can't hear the message, but the children that Yahweh has opened their eyes and our ears to hear, they're going to hear the message. So the trumpet is being blown, and it's a message. It's a message for us to hear because of the time period that we're in. As I said before, the governments of the world, they have come to their end. They're not going much further. What you find right now are just the symptoms that they are going through as they're fighting and holding on and trying to claw for whatever is left. Trying to hold on to something that they cannot have, because Yahweh has already determined they only have a certain time. It's not going to go beyond the time that Yahweh has allotted for them. Of course, they're going to fight for it. And that's what we see happening. And as they fight, we're going to experience a great tribulation. Because when they're going to be fighting, they're going to be looking for you. And they're going to be looking for me. Because that's the threat that they feel that is to them. No different than when Yahshua came in, or when Moshe came in, or when Abraham came in. This is actually what you saw. You saw them inciting the people, because that's how they're able to do it. They can't do it by coming to you and tell you to go kill yourself. No, they have to go to those who they can control. They could control these, and they could tell them through rules and patriotism and all those things to come after you. This is what the devil is in this earth now to do. And we're going to see this in a little bit of time here, because there's going to be some great changes. But you got to hold on to your socks and know that everything is not just here for you to have comfort. Because even Yahweh shows that when this time comes, it's going to be like a sting of a scorpion to you. It's not going to be the same. Now to the world, it's going to be a lot worse, because the world don't see it like you do. But you expect something to happen because you heard the message of the trumpet. It's a little different for you. So when you hear the message of the trumpet, you know things are going to be taking place. And you know when these things are taking place, you already know that there are principalities and powers in high places that are using men and women in this earth to get you into the place that you either become carousing with drunkenness, that you start hating your brother, you start judging one another, you start doing all of those things that Yahshua tells you that you shouldn't be doing. Because he told you and I, make sure that you love your brother. Make sure that you serve one another. Because he said, this is how you're going to be a son. He already showed you. The time is here that the sons are going to be revealed. The sons are going to be the individuals who are going to set things straight. If they're going to set things straight, surely they can't be cursing everybody. thinking everybody's doing something to them, and if that guy wasn't here, or if he didn't do this, then I wouldn't have these problems. No, that's not it. Imagine if Yahshua felt that way going to the stake. If they did it to the head of the house, guys, they're going to do it to you. That's a promise. They're coming after you. And those who know you, and they know you already by your auric field, the only thing that they got to do now is make sure that they steer somebody in your field. Because see, these in the earth, they don't know. They don't know what's hitting them. The principalities and powers in high places that's broadcasted to these individuals, they don't know. They just have a feeling, or they're irritated, and they go about to do their thing. They may see you and not like you, but they don't know what's really going on. That's why Yahshua said, forgive them, because they don't know. They don't know. If they did know, they wouldn't be doing it. But they don't know. And you have to forgive them, because they don't know. So here in 29, in verse 2, it says, and you shall offer a burnt offering. A burnt offering, one of the symbols for a burnt offering, guys, is total submission. Total submission to your father. You give your father everything. Everything. Totally surrender to your father in everything that he said. The reason why the devil has room is because we don't do this. If you go to the parable of the dishonest manager in John, you notice that the dishonest manager was about to lose his position, because they heard that he was squandering the ruler's possession. So the ruler called him into account and said, you're not going to have that position anymore. That's no different than what's happening in the earth, or what happened in the garden. You're not going to have that position anymore. Well, what did the dishonest manager do? For those of you who know the story, he went to his ruler's debtors and got them to not acknowledge the debt that they had to pay, but to keep some. How many baths of oil do you owe? Well, I owe 100%. Well, scratch that and write down for 70, and you keep 30. Right away, you're not loving with all your heart, soul, and might. You're not giving to your father 100% anymore, because now I'm looking out for myself. But I have to make a burnt offering of total submission, 100%. None is going to be given to the priest to eat this, and none is going to be to the priest's family to eat that. Everything is going to be totally sent up. It's an offering. And it's not an easy offering to come to the point that you give your father, you serve your father in everything. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And it's a spiritual sacrifice that Yahweh is looking for. So he went to the other one. How many bushels of wheat do you owe? Well, I owe 100%. Well, take back your acknowledgement of what you owe and write this down for 80. You keep 20. Right away, that debtor is not going to be able to do the will, because what Yahweh requires is that you give everything if you're going to be in the area that you're going to be serving in this area, in this manner. So when the dishonest manager got the debtors to fall, guess what? They're going to serve him. Because to who you yield yourself as servant to obey, his servant you are whom you obey, whether it's going to be evil, whether it's going to be righteous. So now we're serving the dishonest manager, or Adam and Eve were serving the dishonest manager, because we decided not to give 100%. Well, the same sacrifice is needed today. And this is how we come from under the hand of the dishonest manager. Yahweh wakes us up to that point. We have to give 100%. We have to become the burnt offering. And that burnt offering, Yahweh says, is a pleasing aroma to him. It's a service that is acceptable to him. This is what a pleasing aroma is. It's a service that's acceptable to Yahweh. Of one young bull, and we've gone through what this bull means, and a ram, the total of 7 lambs, complete submission. That's what a lamb does. Of the first year, all without blemish, all without fault. Now we have to come to that point that we have no fault, because we find ourselves with fault. But we're going to get help, guys, because Yahweh already said 70 weeks is left to put an end to transgression. He's not just going to put an end to transgression when we're transgressing every day. Something is going to happen. And the Feast of Trumpets is paramount to this happening. He's telling you something in this particular Feast of Trumpets. We know this Feast of Trumpets is coming down to the last of the 6,000 years. This is the last Jubilee. In this age, not that there won't be more, in this age, the time allotted here. Certainly, Yahweh says, the time that they have will be 120 days, talking about 120 cycles. Because days don't necessarily mean days. It means predetermined periods of time. It could be a year, it could be 10 years, but in this case, he's talking about jubilees. 120 cycles of jubilee. That's what he said. And so something is going to happen at the end of this 120 cycles of jubilee. And in it, we have to bring forth this young bull. Now, this young bull is the son of a big bull. The big bull is the king in the pasture. And the young bull is the son of the king. So this is a son. You have to bring forth the sacrifice of a son. That's what we got to do. We have to bring forth a sacrifice that we're sons. So Yahshua showed us how to be sons. He showed us. And we have to bring forth this sacrifice. He says, with the bull, offer a grain offering. This is a body of 3/10 of an ephod, and 3, the spiritual meaning of 3 is separation, separate. So we have to somehow be separate from everything else. And when Yahshua comes, or Yahshua is coming, because Yahshua's coming is not just going to be one day. Yahshua's coming is over a period of time, and when he does that, he separates the sheep from the goats. So there's got to be the sacrifice of 3/10 of an ephod, and the ephod is the perfect standard. The perfect standard of Yahweh, which is going to turn right back to you loving your brother. You be abounding in mercy. You be abounding in compassion. You have the strength of Yahweh, because you will be inheriting Yahweh, just as the Levites didn't have a portion, but their portion was Yahweh, because that's what they inherited. You are going to be inheriting the same thing, that spirit of Yahweh. That's what you're going to be inheriting. That's what you have. That's what's been promised to you. You're not promised physical things. That's not it. Yeah, you could have the physical things, but what Yahweh wants to give you is his power. His power. That's why Moshe set up the rules in the manner he did. He was showing you a pattern of what had to come. The Levites, their part was Yahweh. They were priests. They're the ones who could go into the holy place, and the high priest go into the most holy place. Now Yahshua told you that if you believe in him, you could boldly go in. Well, who goes in? The priest. If you believe in him, He said you could go in because the veil is rent that you could boldly go in. Well, if you are his body, guess what you are? Guess what you are? Guess what you are? If you are part of his body, you got to understand what you are. And to be part of his body, you have to follow the head. Because my head listens to, my body listens to everything that my head says. I could move my hand around. Why? Because my head just told me to move my hand around. And it'll follow me. If it's doing the right thing, it's going to follow me wherever I go. And that's what the saints have to do. Follow the head wherever he goes. This is the burnt offering. Totally submitting to what your Father says, and your Father has shown you in Yahshua what he has said. It says its grain offering is to be 2/10 of an ephod. 2/10, 2 is the word or the letter beit or bet. It means house. It means body. It means family. He's talking about something here for you. You got to separate the family. This is what Yahshua is going to do. The spirit of Yahshua is going to bring this. This is the message. This is the trumpet. This is what he says the trumpet is doing. A fine flour mixed with oil. Mixed with oil. Anointed with the Holy Spirit. Mixed with oil. Anointed with oil, the Holy Spirit. That's what he's talking about. Moshe just gave you, he just put everything out there, but Moshe knew a lot more than what he wrote. Remember what Moshe wrote, he veiled. That's why when the law is read today, there still remains a veil. But there's a lot more to be understood. In verse 4, and with each of the 7 lambs, its grain offering is to be 1/10 of an ephod. 1/10. 1 is the symbol of unification. Yahweh is also one. Yahweh is one. Yahweh is unity. He unifies. That which brings men together, or everything together, is of your Father. That which separates men is of your adversary. So here we go. We have to separate a family, and that family has to be one. That family has to be in one accord. Just as in the day of Pentecost. One accord. Now there could be small differences because you all have minds and different likes and wants and whatever the case is. But we all have to be doing what the head said. We all have to be doing what the head said. So it says the offering is to be 1/10 of an ephod of fine flour mixed with oil. We already showed you what that is. The fine flour, guys, is going to be the best servants. The fine flour. When you mix up this flour with oil and you make the bread that you want to, you know what it does? It feeds the people. You have to have something that's going to feed the people. And that which you have to have is going to be the Spirit. You're going to be a body or family that has the Spirit of Yahweh that's going to feed the people and bring the people back to the place that they need to be so they can also serve the Father with the Spirit that you just put in them because you just became a grain offering. A grain that's mixed with oil. It says also include 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. This Feast of Trumpet offering is in addition to the regular new moon offering and morning and evening tamid burnt offering along with their prescribed grain and drink offering. they are made to Yahweh by fire, as a pleasing aroma, a righteous service, an acceptable service. This is what this is telling us about. The service of our Father. Now, let's go over to Numbers 10, a little bit back. Now, we're going to look at the trumpet here a little bit. Numbers 10. Numbers 10, and let's look at verse 2. Numbers 10 and verse 2. It says, make 2 silver trumpets. Make 2 silver trumpets. Now, silver is one of those rich minerals, and the trumpet is actually the witness that's going to give the message, or the Malik that's going to give the message. Someone is going to use this trumpet to give a message. Or this trumpet is the message that someone is giving. But we're going to blow it. That's how we give it. Of hammered silver, and use them for calling the congregation together. In other words, gather them. Gather them. It's when Yahshua comes with the last trump, he gathers his. This is what we're talking about here. This is why the feast days are for a shadow of things to come. For the body of Messiah, because that's the bodies which cast the shadow. For the calling together, for the gathering of the saints, and for causing the camp to set forward. It's time to move. It's time to move. This is what the trumpet is all about. It's time to move. We're breaking the camp and we're moving forward. Now, we have camped out for a long time, guys. We've camped out for a long time. The trumpet is blown. And now it's time to break the camp. And Yahweh says, gather everyone and set forward. Because this is the time period that we're in. We are going to be setting forward. Now let's go over to Psalms 89 and Psalms 89. Let's go to Psalms 89 real quick and we're going to look at verse 15. Psalms 89, 15. This is a very special time. There are a lot of things that we have to set our minds to. And not just for a time. We have to set our minds that we make that change. That change has to be made. So Psalms 89, let's look at verse 15. It says, blessed are the people who understand the sounding of the trumpet. The message here, this message, it's a warning also. Okay? It's a warning of Yahshua's coming and the things that are going to be happening during that time. If you remember the wise and foolish virgins. Sure you remember that story. The wise and foolish virgins, they were doing their thing. Some were wise, some were foolish, some went prepared with their oil, some didn't. But at midnight is considered the darkest time in mankind's history, or in that age's history. There was a cry made. This cry, guys, was the trumpet to break camp and set forward. But not everybody was ready. And those who were ready had their lamps all set together and enough oil, because this is the spirit that you have to be made with. As a grain offering, you need the oil. Those who were ready went in with the bridegroom. Those who weren't ready before the bridegroom came went out to trade what they had within themselves for more oil. from more oil. That's what they went to do. Buy and sell. Go to those who buy and sell, which is actually everything that's around you, the Malachim dealing in your life. But you and I got to be willing to drop it. We got to set our minds to do certain things. And these things that we have to set our minds to do are the things that Yahshua has shown us to do. Moshe even told you that's what you're supposed to do. He said, well, Yahweh is going to send a prophet that he's going to raise up from among your brothers. He is the one you should listen to in order to obey. Because all these things that I'm telling you here today, that one is going to open your eyes to it. So he did. And he told you what to do. He told you how to overcome. He told you what you need to be doing in your mind. He told you how you're supposed to treat your brother. He told you how careful you need to be with your words. He told you that you're going to have persecution in this world. But he says, blessed are you. He didn't say curse everybody when you're persecuted by them. No. Furthermore, he told you, or he showed you, that he forgave them because they don't know what they're doing, because they're led by principalities and powers that's using them to get to you. So you'll fall. We got to see it. We got to see it for what it is. But blessed are the ones who understand the sounding of this trumpet, the message that is given by this trumpet, O Yahweh. We walk in the light of your presence. The light of your presence. Now, let's go back over to Numbers 10. Numbers 10. Numbers 10. Now we read verse 2. Now let's go ahead and read verse 9. It says, when you go to war in your land against an enemy who is oppressing you. Do you think we are oppressed today? Then you shall make the clarion call on these two trumpets, and you will be remembered. This is a memorial for Yahweh, by Yahweh your Father, and you will be saved from your enemies. You will be saved from your enemies. That's what he's saying. In verse 10. And when the days of your gladness in your appointed feasts and at your new moon festival, you shall make the clarion call on the trumpets over your burnt offerings. The ones who are going to be truly submitting. But I told you before that the Malach are the ones, the Malachim are the ones who are first responsible for giving you the message. If you are the burnt offering, their duty is to sound the clarion call over the burnt offerings. If we could totally submit ourselves, that's when we're going to get it. Now, if we totally submit ourselves, then we become the same message. Because the message that we receive, we're going to give. Freely you receive, freely you give. We can't block it up and keep it to ourselves because nothing's going to come out anymore. Over your burnt offering and over the sacrifices of your peace offering, and it will be a memorial remembrance for you in front of Yahweh your Father. I am Yahweh, your heavenly Father. It will be a remembrance. That's what it says. Now let's go over to Isaiah 52. Isaiah 52. Now there's a lot that we have to look at here. Because if you could see what's being said, these are not physical things that I'm talking to you about, guys. I'm telling you about things that you and I have to have within, inside. I'm not talking about going through a bunch of ceremonies putting on the tally and wearing a cap. Now, if that's what you want to do, that's fine too, because those are things that we're going to remind you if that's what you need. But there's a spirit that Yahweh gives you, that's the true garment. And he says in that spirit, he says, I will remind you of things to come. The Comforter will remind you. That's what he says. That is the true garment. Moshe only set up a pattern. Now, if you have this, this is what we need to get. That spirit that Yahweh is telling us about. Now, notice in verse 11 of Isaiah 52. Let's go to verse 9. Let's go to verse 9. Okay, Isaiah 52. Let's look at verse 9. It says, break forth into joy. Sing together, you waste places of Jerusalem. For Yahweh has comforted his people. He has redeemed Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem is not just the city Jerusalem. It's a people. It's a people who bears peace. Peace is in their vessels. Love is in their vessels. Great peace have they who love your law. Okay, so in verse 10 now. Yahweh will lay bare his holy arm in the sight of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of our Father. It's not talking about what happened before. It's talking about what's going to be happening. Now, before it happens, look what happens here. Look at verse 11. Depart, depart, go out from there. Get together and set up the camp that you're in and get out. You're going to move forward. That's what the trumpet is there for. Touch not the unclean things. Go out from the midst of from her. Be clean, you who bear the vessels of Yahweh. The vessels of Yahweh are the ones who are going to have the peace. The vessels of Yahweh are the temple. You and I who are going to be the temple, or are the temple of Yahweh. And we have to do right with this temple, because this is the temple that is going to harness peace and love and compassion, and it's going to give this to the people. This is the burnt offering that you're going to have. But the Malach of Yahweh is going to sound the trumpet over you, the burnt offering, first, before you have the authority to give that out. But you're going to get it. How do you have the authority? It's simply in you. No one has to tell you, guys, go and now you have the authority to do it. No, you're going to know. It's going to be in you. The boldness is going to come there. And you're not going to let anybody crap you in any other way. It's going to be there. And the Spirit is going to say, be strong and courageous and stand for this. Now, you don't have to be rude about something, but you're going to stand for what you know. Because the Spirit of Yahweh is going to prove it to you. And it's going to bring things back to your remembrance. This is the vessel of Yahweh that is going into. And the covering is the Spirit. This is what it is. Now let's go with the 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians. Actually, let me see something here. Did I get done reading Isaiah 52? Let me see something real quickly. Let's see if I finished reading Isaiah 52. Can you hear me again?
That's much better. I don't know why you think, but
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, let's go over to let's go back to Isaiah 52. I'm sorry. I didn't read chapter verse 12. Let's go back over to Isaiah 52 and verse 12. And if you already got the Corinthians, just hold your place there. So we just read in verse 11, depart, depart, go out from there, touch no unclean thing, go out from the midst of her, be clean, you who bear the vessels of Yahweh. For you will not go out in haste, nor go by flight, for Yahweh will go before you. And the Father of Israel, notice, will gather you up. This is what the trumpet is about. Blow the trumpet to gather the people. In the time of trumpets, you blow it to gather the people. Yahweh at the last trump gathers his people. Let's go over the Corinthians, guys. 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians, and we're going to go to chapter 15 in 1 Corinthians. And we're going to read verse 51. 1 Corinthians 15 and 51. I have a particular book here, and this book, the subheading says, The First Resurrection at the Last Trumpet. The first resurrection at the last trumpet. It says, behold, this is Shaul now, because Yahweh opened Shaul's ears or eyes to many things, many secrets. He says, behold, I show you a secret truth. A secret truth. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. There's certain things that's happening in the earth right now, guys, that if you bear the vessels of Yahweh, there's change that's going to be coming to you. Even if you don't bear the vessels of Yahweh, there's going to be change coming to you simply by what the earth is going through right now. The only problem is some are going to awake to righteousness and some is going to be awakened to everlasting contempt. Well, it's not everlasting, but that's what the script, that's what you could read, you know. But some is going to awake to that which is going to bring contempt to them still, because they don't have the vessels of Yahweh. But if you have the vessels of Yahweh, when you wake up, you're going to have a separate job from the ones who are going to fall to contempt. But you're going to wake up. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. In the twinkling of an eye. Or the brightness. This is the brightness. This is the illumination that comes. Okay, this is the enlightenment that comes in the twinkling of an eye. You start knowing things with the eye. The eye is a symbol of a knowledge too. At the last trumpet, for the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we will be changed. And it's not talking about dead coming out of the graves, guys. It's talking about something else. Incorruptible. Now, when you receive the Spirit here, okay, because something is going to be in you. This is what is promised. And it's going to give you the power now to have no fault. To make the real sacrifice that we got been reading about in Numbers. It has to be without blemish. This is the last part of your sacrifice. When you receive this Spirit right here, and it brings you to the point that you come to a point that you have to choose to be corrupted now, because sin has come to an end. This is what Daniel was talking about. 70 weeks is determined for this. After this, the earth goes into a particular place, and that which is already living in you, in your DNA, things are going to be changing. To put an end to sin, Daniel said. To bring in everlasting righteousness. Well, it's not going to happen all in one day. It's still a process, but you're going to be waking up. This is the starting point of it. Because that trumpet comes, and you gather the people together, and you gather them together so you could break camp and move out. It all don't happen on trumpets. That's when you gather them together. The trumpet is blown to gather them. That's why it's a feast of blowing trumpets. You gather them together, give a warning. You have to get away from all those things. Don't touch these things right here. You who bear the vessels of Yahweh, you come here. And depart. Go out. That's what that trumpet is there for you to do. Gather you together and for you to break camp and set forward. Set forward. What's going forward, guys? The next feast. Atonement. Will you learn to become one? And then you have tabernacles. And the last great day. These are all things to come. Shadow of things to come. And we have to look at it in this manner. So when you get something now that you're going to be naturally incorruptible, it's going to be easy for you to make the sacrifice without spot and blemish. You can. Yahshua received the same spirit. And he said he's going to give it to you. In verse 54. So when this corruptible will have put on incorruptible, and this mortal will have put on immortality, then will be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. Now it's not going to happen to everybody at the same time. Yes, the thing that is going to be happening in your body, it's going to be in a twinkling of an eye. Yes, those things are going to be there. It's going to be an enlightenment of your knowledge. You're going to understand more. You're going to be opened to more information that the Spirit of Yahweh is giving you. This is something that's going to be naturally happening. And you're going to find yourself becoming more discerning, read things better. You may not notice it right away, but as time goes along, those of you who bears the vessels of Yahweh, you're going to find this. Now, how long? Don't know. I can't tell you that. But if you look back, as you start going forward in these months and years maybe, you look back, you're going to see the difference in where you have come to. Because people are going to be waking up. This is a time of awakening. And this is actually what the apostle is talking about right here. Now let's go over to 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians 4. 1 Thessalonians 4. And let's look at verse 13. In verse 13 it says, "But I do not want you to be ignorant, brothers, concerning those who are asleep, that you would not sorrow as others who have no hope. For if we believe that Yahshua died and was raised again, so also those who sleep in Yahshua will Yahweh bring with him. For we say this to you by the word of Yahweh, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Savior will by no means precede those who are asleep. For Yahshua himself will descend from heaven with a shout. This is a command. It's a message. With the voice, a message of the Malach, the messenger, Gadal, and with the trumpet of Yahweh, for you to hear, for you to gather, for you to set out of the camp that you've been in. And the dead in Messiah will be raised first, and we who are alive and remain will be, notice what it says, guys, caught up together, gathered. It's not talking about caught up together in heaven here some ways. Gathered, caught up together with him in the clouds to meet in the air. And this, the air, the clouds, this is all levels of awareness that you're going to come to. This is all levels of awareness. And so we will ever be with Messiah or with Yahshua in the place that he is at in awareness. We're going to come there too. He says, where I go, you know. You can't come right now, but you know. I go to prepare a place for you, so where I go, you could come. This is his awareness. While you're in the earth, you're going to come to know this. Of course, you're going to be able to leave the earth and you're going to know your brother too, just like you and I are right here. But you don't have to go in that manner. You're going to know right when you are here. You're going to wake up. That's why the adversary, your adversary, will not be able to take advantage of you anymore. Because when the Malach sounds, and then all of a sudden you have this Malach that has the key to the bottomless pit, it's also giving you a message. The key to the bottomless pit is no different than the keys to the kingdom of Yahweh. And that same key is going to lock up your great adversary. Yahshua said he's going to give you the keys of the kingdom if you will stand on that rock. Upon that rock, he's going to build his. And he's going to give you the keys of the kingdom. That same kingdom, that same keys to the kingdom is the keys to shut the bottomless pit, so you don't take that stuff in anymore. And so you will come to the point that you could make the sacrifice of having no fault. It's coming. It's already here. It's already here. What you see happening in the earth right now is going to get worse. Only because those who are in the earth want to hold on to their offices. All the storms that you see acting in funny ways, and this is what Yahweh says, there's going to be signs in the earth. There are going to be signs in heaven. Okay? Men are going to be acting funny. There's going to be earthquakes all over the place. You're seeing it right now. It is only intensifying. These are things that they're going to be doing before they try to come and tell you, oh, here's the Savior. They're going to try to put that on you too, guys, because it's going to be very close, so close that if it was possible, they would be able to deceive the very elect. The storms that are happening is from technology. It's not just nature. They're men who have figured out, because they have been given certain information. Okay, and of course when they get this information, they don't use it to serve their brother. They use it to further enslave their brother. That's what it's all about. That's what the dishonest manager did. Enslave the ruler's debtors. That's what they did. And when they receive certain information, because those who are above them, who is actually helping them in this earth, is here with them too. The devil is cast down. Okay? With great wrath. Because the devil knows there's only a small time. So guess what? The devil doesn't want the sons to be born. So the devil goes, he doesn't care who it wipes out. He just wants to wipe out the children. So it doesn't matter where the storm is going to be going, or the earthquake is going to be going, or where the famine is going to be, whatever. And when they come and say, okay, we could fix all things, and they're going to fix it for a while, possibly, so everyone will trust in those. But you who bear the vessels of Yahweh, you're going to know. You're going to know. You're going to know because you heard the sound of the trumpet. You knew to gather. You knew to set out. And you knew the sacrifices that had to come. You know you have to give yourself 100% to your Father. And you know you have to be in a family, having the same mindset. And you know you have to be in accord. This is the sacrifice that you're going to give. And you're going to be just fine. Don't worry if they take the body. Don't worry about that. Okay? If they take the body, you're still okay. Let's go over to Revelations, guys. 11. Revelations 11. Revelations 11, let's look in verse 15.
Get closer to the mic.
Revelations 11 and verse 15. It says, and the seventh Malach sounded, and there were great voices in heaven. Great voices in heaven. Voices is also what we read back there with the trumpet. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Father and of his Messiah. The kingdoms of this world has become the kingdoms of the Messiah and the Father. And what I want you to see and understand here is if you bear the vessels of your Father, you are the body of Messiah. You are also the body of Messiah. So the kingdom of this earth, this world, will become the kingdom of the Father and you, if you bear the vessels of Yahweh. This is where we're going right now. Out of this chaos is going to come salvation. They're going to bring this upon the earth because they're trying to fight for everything that they have. But it won't work. It won't work. Yahweh has already put this here, and there is nothing that these individuals can do right now is going to be taking place. Nothing is going to be taking place. And we have to understand that. We just have to see it. Now, the thing that could bug us is the fact that we don't believe in the things that Yahweh has put before us. Because we could get into that area. We have to know what Yahweh is talking about in certain things. And we have to know that that which Moshe has set up for you is for you to peer into to come to your Father. Moshe just set up certain things, guys. Trust me. I'm telling you this. This has been opened to my eyes. Yahweh has opened me to this years ago. You have one foundation, and that foundation is Messiah. Everything is built upon Messiah when it comes to you becoming a son of the Most High. Trust me here. It's not easy to believe when we've been told certain things. But I'm telling you here, you have to hear what this man has said. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is the door. That is the only door. That is how a covenant is going to be made, when you could attach yourselves to what that example is all about. We have to. We have to. Because he gives the Spirit to those who follow him. We got to see it. And when we see it, we have to be able to do it. May Yahweh bless your understanding.